Nonito Donaire wins a 12-round split decision victory over Wilfredo Vasquez Jr. in a fight that turned out to be more competitive than most people expected, including me. I'll be honest. Over the last week or so, I've been having a debate in the comment section on one of my videos, the Vitaly Klitschko versus Derek Chisora video that I did a couple weeks ago. And I've been debating with this guy, and basically this guy, you know, he says that the Klitschko's success has nothing to do with their size. It's completely just to do with their skill. You know, their size doesn't really come into it. They're just more skillful than their opponents, so that's why they're successful. And I've been arguing, no, that's not the case. Their size, their height and reach and weight advantage over their opponents has a lot to do with why they're as dominant and as successful as they are. And I do not believe they would be as successful if they were smaller. I'm not saying the Klitschkos don't have skills. Obviously, they have a certain amount of skill. But they would not be as successful or dominant as they are if they was a lot smaller, or if they was fighting a lot of opponents who are their own size. They'd be having a lot, you know, more competitive fights on a regular basis if they were fighting bigger guys. Size matters in boxing, in my opinion, without a doubt. And this fight tonight between Nonito Donaire and Vasquez Jr. proves that point again. Donaire has been fighting guys who are small compared to him. You know, it's funny, even though Donaire was moving up in weight for this fight, his first fight at featherweight, he still looked like the bigger guy in there against Vasquez Jr., which was the strange thing. But he did not have the type of size advantage that he's had, you know, in previous fights. And this ended up being the toughest fight he's had for a long time. And he got hit a lot more than we're used to seeing him get hit, simply because Vasquez Jr. was bigger, stronger, had a longer reach than most of the guys Donaire's been fighting in recent years. That's the reason why. Not necessarily, I mean, Vasquez Jr. he's obviously a fairly skillful fighter, but I would definitely argue that Donaire has fought more skillful fighters than Vasquez Jr. before. But Vasquez Jr. had the size and the strength and the jab, right? The reach and the jab to give Donaire problems. And Donaire could not get away with that hands down style as easily against Vasquez Jr. as he could against those smaller guys, because Vasquez Jr. had the reach to touch him with the jab on a pretty consistent basis. And if you see at the end of the fight, Donaire's face, especially, I think was it his left eye or his right eye? I think it was his right eye was swole up pretty bad. And he was getting touched quite a lot in this fight. He was never hurt, never staggered, nothing like that. He did actually hurt his own hand quite badly. I mean, his hand was bleeding through the wraps by the end of the fight, which you don't see that often. So he was hurt pretty, you know, he hurt his hand pretty bad. In the end, on my card, he won the fight pretty comfortably. One of the judges had Vasquez Jr. winning, which, I mean, I'd have to look at the fight again, but I can't see really how Vasquez Jr. would have won that fight. But he did suffer a knockdown late in the fight, and he was staggered quite badly earlier on in the fight. So there's 2 rounds there. One round definitely was a 10-8 round in favor of Donaire, and another round could have been a 10-8 round since Vasquez Jr. was dominated so thoroughly in that particular round. But nonetheless, I thought it was a fairly clear win on the cards for Donaire, but he definitely had a few issues in there. I know the HBO guys gave Vasquez Jr. at least 3 rounds. I think Merchant had Vasquez Jr. had winning 3 rounds and had 1 even. So it was a pretty competitive fight in spots. And like I said, the extra height, reach and strength of Vasquez Jr. was giving Donaire problems, and he wasn't able to get away with a lot of that hands down, reflex based defense that he's been getting away with at the lighter weights. And after the fight, Donaire says that he is going to wait a while before he moves up in weight again to super featherweight. So we can pretty much forget about a fight with Gamboa, at least for now. You know, so he's gonna stay at featherweight for now and do his thing, and I don't see no problem with that. You know, there's a lot of pressure on Nonito Donaire to move up and face this guy and that guy and the other guy, but you know, I think it's unnecessary pressure. You know, give the guy a break. He's been dominating, you know, at the lower weights. Now he stepped up to featherweight. His first fight, he found it a bit harder, but give the guy a break, man. You know, he's coming up in weight, and people want to throw him in there with Gamboa. I mean, Gamboa would look like the Incredible Hulk next to Nonito Donaire. So let's not be too harsh on the guy. You understand? I know there's a lot of hype surrounding Nonito Donaire right now. People are putting him on pound for pound list, and I think he deserves to be on pound for pound list. Yeah, he deserves to be on pound for pound list. You can't question what he's done in the weights that he's fought so far, right? So yeah, he deserves to be on pound for pound list at the moment, right? But obviously, you know, there's more challenging fights for him now. He stepped up to featherweight, and if he ever does eventually step up to super featherweight, there'll be even more challenging fights. But I thought this was a decent win for Donaire. It was a good measuring stick. You know, it was a good gauge to see where he's at, you know, in terms of moving up, to see how he might fare against some of the, you know, better guys in that weight class and above. So it was a good measuring stick to see where he's at, you know what I mean? So yeah, it was a fairly entertaining fight as well. It's nice to see someone actually land some gloves on Donaire's face for a change, you know, because a lot of the time he just looks like a playground bully in there. So it was nice to see a guy that was actually big enough and strong enough to be able to hit Donaire back and give him a taste of his own medicine at times. But yeah, it was a fairly entertaining fight. Let me know what you think about the fight. Do you think that there was any way that Vasquez Jr. Could have won this fight on the cards? How do you think Donaire did? Do you think it was a good performance, a bad performance? Do you think he's right to stay at featherweight and not move up to super featherweight and possibly face Gamboa? Do you think Donaire's a pound for pound guy? Do you not think he's a pound for pound guy? Tell me why. Yeah, let me know. This is Hatman. I'm out.